you. So if you haven't yet, click on that link in the slideshow, the Pear Deck. I'm going to walk you through 7.6, and it's called narratives. So narrative is a style of writing, and it's particularly the style of storytelling. So we're staying with this idea that we have before, where we've talked a lot about like what's in a story. And so narratives are stories, and they're usually written to entertain the reader. Some examples are fiction stories, autobiographies, fairy tales, and fables. So because they're a story, they include a setting, when and where, the characters' problems, which are the conflict, and then the conflict resolution, which is our conclusion and the ending. So we've talked about this, and we've talked about the plot arc the last 2 weeks, and now we're just going to add one thing to that. So I've talked about this before, that this is kind of what English does, is we wrap back around and then we add a little bit more, and we wrap back around and we add a little bit more. So today what we're doing is we're adding this idea of main idea and details. So when you read a story, oftentimes, especially a fairy tale or a fable, there's something that the author wants you to get out of it, like a moral of the story, or there's something that the author wants you to take away. When you read a narrative story, you can often summarize that plot into a main idea, and some of the pieces of the plot are details. So we're going to look at main idea and detail. And so the main idea is the big point. It's what the author's writing about, and it's like a sentence normally that can summarize the whole piece, that whole text that we've read. A detail supports the main idea. Alone, it's not big enough to express the whole text, but it's a piece of that bigger picture. So I like to think of it like this, like a pizza. Okay, so if you order a pizza from Domino's and you get the extravaganza, that's the main idea. That's the whole pizza. That's the type of pizza like that you're reading. I know, books and pizzas. The details, those are the single toppings. So if you want to know what's on the extravaganza, there's sausage and pepperoni and peppers and olives. Those are the details. And when you put enough of the details together, then you get a whole pizza. Okay? So when you put enough of the details together, you get a whole main idea, and you get a summary of that story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a practice example, and then we're going to work through the passage that is coming up on your quiz. Okay. So we're going to look at the example of the Three Little Pigs. And hi, Kesslin. So the Three Little Pigs, our setting is like this. We're in a fairy tale land. Our characters are the Three Little Pigs, three brothers, and the big bad wolf. The conflict that happens is that the wolf wants to huff and puff and blow all the houses down so he can eat the pigs because he's hungry. Okay. The resolution is that ultimately the wolf is not successful when he gets to the last little piggy's house, and the pigs end up, depending on the version you read, the pigs end up like burning the wolf when he tries to come down the fireplace. Okay. So the Three Little Pigs story is that the first little brother, he made his house out of straw. So the big bad wolf comes up to him and says, "I'll huff and puff and I'll blow your house down." So he goes to the second pig's house. His house was made of sticks, a little bit stronger. And the wolf says, "Well, I'm going to huff and puff and blow your house down so I can eat you up, little piggies." And he does. He blows the house down. And then he comes to the third house. And the third house is built of stone. And it is able to withstand his huff and puff and blowing. To the point where the wolf gets so frustrated that he comes down the chimney and the piggies eat him or, get burned in the fire. Again, depends on the version. But that's the overall plot and the setting and the characters, the conflict, the resolution. But the main idea of the Three Little Pigs is that the author is actually kind of trying to tell you something with the examples of the pigs. That if you build your house strong, you aren't going to be taken advantage of by wolves. So, again, it depends on what story you're reading, but in some versions, the wolf eats the first two little pigs. In nicer versions, the pigs will run to their brother's house. But the idea is, like, if you have a weak house, you're going to be open to the elements and you're going to be open to disaster. So a detail, though, from the three little pigs would be that the second pig builds his house out of sticks. So this is a detail because it's smaller. It's a piece of the story, but it's not the main idea. It's not big enough to summarize the whole story. Okay. So remember, the main idea is like the whole pizza. The details are the single toppings, and together the details support and create this main idea. Okay. We're going to look now at the text that is going to be in